Nick,
Charles,
what's going on?
dude, we're back at it again.
Back at it again with episode 4
Episode 4, Quattro,
of the Charles and Nick Roundtable.
the round table.
We're here. We're kind of getting close to episode number 10. I'm excited to get to double-digit numbers eventually.
I feel like we gotta do something special for that.
Yeah.
We gotta plan something good for the 10th episode.
One episode a month. We got 6 more months to think of something pretty good.
Ample time.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll speed it up as we get closer to that 10. But
Just to get it out, just to see.
well, we'll see.
Because I'll be getting out of prep when you're going into prep.
Yeah,
So
true.
I know it's definitely gonna be rough to want to do these like deep in the prep.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll try to bang these out as fast as possible. Definitely want to get to episode 10 quick.
Yeah, and Nick, speaking of prep, is 1 week out from his first show of the season. By the time this episode gets released, he'll probably be about 4 or 5 days out.
Yeah.
But right now, 7 days out from competition number 1 of the season.
Man,
How you feeling?
hungry.
Hungry? Yeah, yeah. Are you expecting?
Hungry and fatigued. That's all. I wake up and it's just now we got to get to the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, dude, like outside of how rough it's been, because we've had data to work off of, so we were able to really focus on the things we needed to focus on. I think this is the best prep that I've had so far. I mean, I've only had 2 preps.
Yeah. Well, we topped 1 so far.
Top
Yeah.
one. So I mean, if we can, keep this going, every prep is going to be better than the last.
That's
But yeah, outside of how hungry I've been feeling and how tired I've been feeling, this is definitely the best prep that we've been doing, based off of how my physique looks and everything. Like, I think we really have been covering all of our bases and dotting all of our I's and crossing all our T's. Like, there's nothing to but follow the plan.
yeah.
Right? We compete to win, and only way to do that is to follow the plan. And I think this prep has really, really made me like realize a lot about myself. And I didn't think it could get this hard, especially given the first bodybuilding prep. Like, that was my impression of a bodybuilding prep. Like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But really, based off of the judges' feedback and how I looked last year and looking at everything now, like, man, I learned so much about myself and how deep I can dig, enter a new territory. You're saying, like that, like this is a brand new feeling for me. So like every day is a fighting battle. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel the next day and the day after. Like, my energies can be a little bit up, it could be a little bit down, but for the most part, it really has been down. But that's where discipline's really been kicking in. But I'm really excited to start off show number 1 of 4, next week. And then we have the Shut Up and Compete the week after. Then we got a nice about a month until our 2 main shows, the King's Cup, AMBF King's Cup, and NGA Mr. and Mrs. Natural Philly.
You're gonna be shredded. You're not shredded. That's the wrong word. You're shredded now. In May, you're gonna be peeled.
Dude,
You're gonna be mind-blowingly peeled. It's gonna be insane. People are gonna look at you and they're gonna think you're an alien.
like, I just crash landed on this planet,
Yeah.
and I'm just ready to step on stage.
Pushing the single-digit body fat is no joke. It's not like a regular cut where you're trying to go from 25% body fat to 15% body fat. It's not even like going from 15% body fat to like 10 or 12% body fat. Pushing down in the single-digit body fat levels is no joke at all, especially when you're there and you're trying to continue to push to even lower, even an even lower level. So you've definitely entered new territory in terms of your body fat levels compared to last year. So with that comes a lot more discomfort, and it's a learning process, right? You've experienced this new territory over the last few weeks, and it's almost like you just it probably feels like you just got hit with a bus or a truck because you probably didn't expect it. Like you knew there was going to be discomfort because you experienced it to some extent last year, but now you're just on another level. Your body fat's even lower.
Dude, it's ridiculous. You said I probably got hit by a bus or a truck, bro. I got hit by both. I
Two different directions.
Two different directions. I got smacked by both. But no, this is good because then that just means that when we go on this off season, this nice 2-year off season, you know, we put on some size on the frame that we're gonna build this season, and it's just gonna make next prep way better, way better. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really excited to see, like these 2 shows we're doing, these warm up shows. Yeah, I'm pumped for them, but I'm really excited for the May shows because that's what we've been training for, and I'm really excited to see how far my conditioning is going to be, because if I'm averaging the weight that I've averaged last year around May, June-ish, man, I can't imagine what I'm going to look like in May.
Because that's going to be with a few more pounds of muscle. Yeah. Because you definitely put on muscle in the off season.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going to have a few less pounds of fat.
Yeah.
Compared to, you know, the body weight from last year. So it's already looking great. You're already shredded.
No, yeah.
And from here, you know, in terms of the May shows, what do you have about, I want to say 7 weeks for one of them.
Yeah.
And then 10 weeks for the other.
Dude, that's dangerous.
It's going to be dangerous. Yeah.
It's going to be really dangerous. And honestly, like this is where embracing that discomfort's really going to kick in, because yeah, I'm 14 days out, but this is going all the way till May. Like it's not going to end after Shut Up and Compete. So like I got to really keep digging. And that's going to allow me to get to that level of peeledness that we're talking about. So, you know, the fact that I'm looking way better than I did last year, and it's only March, just goes to show that, like, dude, we took the off season serious.
Yep.
And that's why, like, we've always had talked about, you know, the importance of the off season, because it's very easy to go off the rails and go completely off track.
Totally.
And then it just makes going into your next prep just infinitely harder, because now there's all this body fat that you need to lose.
And I've done that in the past. Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's good that I got someone experienced as you, because, you know, it's not every bodybuilding prep isn't necessarily going to be like an experiment. There may be some things that we mess around with to experiment whether we should continue with it or not, but like the entire process isn't really like an experiment in a way. So your experience is really showing and shining on your clients, man. Like, this is going to be a crazy 2020. This is going to be a crazy year, 2026 for Team Racy, man.
Yeah. And for those who aren't completely aware, Nick's going to be competing in 4 bodybuilding competitions. So he has the one that's 7 days away. That's the OCB, Garden State Natural. He has one that's 14 days away. That's the AMBF, Shut Up and Compete. And in natural bodybuilding, there's just a bunch of different organizations, which is why he's doing 4 shows.
Yeah.
So then right after that show, or not right after that show, the 3rd show is in the beginning of May.
Yeah.
That is the AMBF King's Cup, which, you know, I competed in the King's Cup.
You are the King's Cup.
Hey, I competed in the King's Cup in September, and, you know, it was a pretty good show for me. It was a pretty good day for me.
Hosted that ass, man.
I hoisted an axe in the air for Classic Physique Pro. And then a few weeks after that, he's going to have the NGA Mr. and Miss Natural Philly. And that's a completely new organization for us.
Yeah.
The organization's been around for a while, and I've heard a lot about it. But we have only competed in the OCB, and we've only competed in the AMBF so far. So I'm very excited to see you finish out your season in a new organization.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that it's going to be ran different than what we're normally used to is because by the organizations that we've done before, AMBF and OCB, they split the classes by height, whereas the NGA has weight classes.
Yeah, it seems like we have weight classes.
We got weight classes, so I'm really excited to see how that's going to play out too, because I don't have to step on stage against a guy that's 180 pounds, pure muscle, and I'm averaging 129.
Right. Yeah, it's a big difference. And I don't know, somebody can correct me if we're wrong, but it seems like, you'll have your weight class, which will go up to, I don't know, it might be somewhere in the 140s or 150s. And then they'll have another weight class a little bit above that. And I think they have one more weight class. I'll have to check back and see exactly. I think there is an overall where the winners of each still go up against each other. But it seems as though if you win your weight class, you get the NGA Pro card.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not 100% sure. And if anybody who competes in the NGA or any NGA show promoters are happening to watch this right now, you can absolutely correct me if I'm wrong.
Please do.
But if you win your light class and you get an NGA Pro card, hey, that'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. And then you just go on to the overall and just see how you stack up against the guys that are 40 pounds heavier than you.
Like, I need to get like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited. Can't wait. And hopefully our next podcast episode, we'll have, some things to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe have a pro card here, but even if we don't, we crushed last year's look, which was the main goal outside of pro cards and all that. So not too worried about how I place. I'm just more worried about being better than last year. And then next prep, same thing. I want to be better than I was this prep.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep going with that. So
yeah, and as long as you have that mindset, I think you'll always be successful. Because obviously you want to compete and win. Everybody wants to win.
For sure.
But if you are of the mindset that you're just trying to continuously improve from season to season, and you get those improvements or you get some level of improvement, then you're just going to be really successful in doing this long term, and you'll probably be more likely to stick with it. And it seems like, with this being your second season, based off of your level of excitement going into each prep and just how much effort you put into your off season, it seems like this is something that you're going to stick with for a while.
Dude, I want to be 70, 80 years old still stepping on stage, bro. Like, I with my wrestling background, like, I've loved wrestling so much, and I hated having to put it down. This kind of brings that back up.
Mm-hmm.
I have something to like compete for. I have something to look forward to, and I love it, man. And I get to really. It's not just me. Like, I have a whole team. I have Elise. Like, I have so much support behind me. So like, I would never want to like just stop this. Yeah, never ever. So,
and we see people all the time who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, possibly 80s competing in these natural bodybuilding shows. So it's never too late. Some people are starting in their 50s and 60s and 70s. Some people have been doing it since they were teens or in their 20s.
Yeah.
It's never too late to compete in a natural bodybuilding competition.
Absolutely.
We see them all the time. Every single show we're seeing senior citizens.
Senior citizens, man.
Yep. And some of them look pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, right. Like, most senior citizens are playing bingo in an old folks home.
Yeah.
You still got people that are like still tracking their food and posing and lifting and making sure that like they're gonna be stepping on stage with a nice presentable physique for their age.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to do when I'm 80, 70 years old. I don't want to be playing bingo where, you know what, I'll be playing bingo and be like, hold on, wait a second, I gotta go compete real quick.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
Tonight, this competition's running from 11 to 5. I'll be here at 6.
I'm going to go compete in this bodybuilding show and then compete against all you old MFers in the bingo tournament.
Exactly.
Come on, those winners overall.
Come on now. Anyway, with that being said, I think it's time that we move on.
Let's do it.
And we talk about, I guess, what we're supposed to talk about in this podcast. We did want to talk about prep, though. We could talk about whatever we want in this podcast.
Yeah, this is our round table.
This is the Charles and Nick Roundtable.
Yeah, this isn't everyone else's round table.
Well, we love that you listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keep that in mind. So basically in this episode, we're going to be talking about a few different topics. We posted a couple of stories over the last week to try to gather up some topics and some questions, things like that people wanted us to talk about. So that's what we're going to focus on for the remainder of this episode.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I believe we can start with supplementation.
Supplementations.
Supplements are incredibly popular. They're everywhere. There are supplement stores, pretty much everywhere you go. There's a GNC, a vitamin shop, or smaller supplement stores, maybe ones that aren't as known, pretty much all over anywhere you go. Supplements are constantly being thrown at your face, or thrown in your face if you are on, Instagram, from ads or from fitness influencers or whoever, on TikTok, even if you're on Facebook, ads for supplements everywhere. And there are definitely a lot of very useful supplements out there.
Absolutely.
And there are some that we think aren't that useful. But there's so many out there, right? If you walk into a GNC,
Oh, man.
you see a million supplements on the wall.
Absolutely.
How do you know what's actually, legit and what's just, some bullshit?
Absolutely.
I think something that we could talk about is which supplements do we like? Whether it's like for us or maybe a supplement that we may generally recommend to our clients or people ask us,
Okay.
or anybody that asks us.
Yeah.
Is there a supplement or 2 or 3 supplements that you like that you would put like close to the top of your list?
Absolutely. Number one by far, creatine.
Yeah.
It's got years and years and years of research backed up, and our bodies naturally produce creatine.
Mm-hmm.
I think creatine, even if you're not weightlifting, like your body will still benefit greatly from creatine. Outside of muscular growth and muscular endurance, it's also good for brain development too. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not weightlifting or weight training or anything in that sorts, taking creatine still provides so many beneficial factors. So definitely number one on the list is creatine. Can't go wrong with it. And then number 2, because I don't typically eat seafood, and even if I did, I still would, but because I don't eat seafood, I like the fish oils, because I like to benefit from the nutrients that is provided from seafood that I don't eat. I take the omega-3s, fishy O's. They're my favorite. I take fishy O's. Yep. I take 2 a day. Only I think like 20 calories, I think, which blew my mind. I was looking at the label the other day, and I was like, oh, it's got like nutrition facts on the back, because most supplements that I see, like, it just has like the supplements within the product. So like with pre-workout, it's got like everything listed within the pre-workout.
Yeah.
So I was looking at that because I remember you saying with NutriBio, you can look on the bottom and see the lab results from it. So I was just like looking around at the labeling, and I saw it had nutrition facts, and I didn't know that fish oils had calories in it.
Yeah. And we said they're fats.
Yeah, they're fats. So it's like, I think it's like 2 grams per serving. It's like 2 pills per serving. So it's like 1 gram of fat per pill. So I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I looked at that, and I was like, that's really, really interesting. I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, you learn something new every day.
Learn something new every day.
You can learn something new every day if you're looking for it.
Yeah. But those 2 are definitely top of the list. And outside of the supplements that people need to take due to deficiencies, I would definitely use creatine and fish oil for sure, top 2.
Yeah. I agree with using those 2 supplements for most people. And I also agree with what you said about the deficiency thing. There are so many supplements out there, like multivitamins and different type of vitamin supplements. And you may need them or you may not need them. It just kind of depends on your overall diet. If you have, let's just say, a vitamin D deficiency, then you may need to supplement with a vitamin D. And, there is probably a pretty good chance that a lot of people are a little bit deficient in vitamin D if they are getting a lot of sunlight. We live in Philly, so there are a lot of times throughout the year, obviously, where we aren't getting that much sun.
Yeah.
And maybe we aren't outside as much, especially when it's like 10 degrees outside.
Absolutely.
So, there's a pretty good chance that a significant amount of people are deficient in vitamin D. But you'll know if you're deficient in any sort of vitamin if you actually get tested for it.
Yeah.
On to the topic of creatine. Creatine is an excellent supplement. There's decades and decades of research backing it up. Just like you said, not just for exercise performance, but also for cognitive health. So even if you aren't somebody who exercises, which you should exercise, you could still benefit from taking creatine, and specifically creatine monohydrate.
Yes.
Because nowadays there are so many different forms of creatine, and creatine monohydrate is the supplement, or it's the form that has the most research to back it up. So it's the most evidence-based form of creatine. So creatine monohydrate specifically.
Yes.
Also, yeah, you mentioned fish oils. Fish oils are also a great supplement to use if you are somebody like us who doesn't eat much seafood. I don't really eat salmon like that. So, we and other people can benefit in terms of our brain health, in terms of our joint health, by taking one or a few servings of fish oils.
Fish oils, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question about monohydrate creatine that I think you can answer. Does the monohydrate creatine draw? Because I know with the monohydrate creatine, it stores more water in your muscles. Does the monohydrate creatine draw the water from your kidneys, or is that just like a myth?
I don't know exactly, to be honest. I don't know exactly where or like what specific areas it draws it from. But with that being said, there is a myth out there that, creatine causes bloating. And that is a myth. So bloating would be caused by water getting stored subcutaneously. So under the skin, creatine monohydrate doesn't do that. It stores water in your muscles, which is not the same thing as being bloated.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will start taking creatine monohydrate, and because they have in their head that, this is going to cause some bloating, anytime they feel bloated after they take creatine monohydrate, they think that it's because I'm taking this. And the reality is it's probably because of something you ate. It's probably because you were light on sleep. It's probably because you were stressed. It's probably because, you went out drinking the other day.
Yeah.
There are other reasons why you're bloated, and it's not because of creatine monohydrate.
Yeah, I feel like before you really start pointing the finger at what's causing like your bloatedness, like you really got to start like narrowing down like your habits and like really getting behind the true culprit of your bloatingness instead of just pointing the finger at the thing that's the most healthy for you. Like, it's the creatine that's doing this. I got to stop it.
I think people are kind of bad at pointing out or just understanding cause and effect.
Yeah.
Like if I'm walking down the street and I trip on the curb and I'm wearing a blue shirt, does that mean that wearing a blue shirt caused me to trip? Like the other day I was wearing a green shirt and I didn't trip, but today I put on a blue shirt and I tripped.
I'm not putting this one on today. I'm going to put that back in the drawers.
So that's kind of like the same mindset that people have when it comes to health related things. They'll be like, I started taking creatine monohydrate a few weeks ago, and there were a few days where I was bloated, so it must be because of the creatine monohydrate.
Oh man, I feel like that's just such a wrong way to approach these things, because then that just means that any time like in your fitness journey that like those little bumps happen, you immediately blame the good habits that you're implementing in your life, instead of the bad lingering ones that are still following you, right? So one thing with creatine that I think is funny when people don't take it for like a day they immediately think they got to start the cycle over again, because there's like a cycle you need to take. It's like you need to take it like twice a day or something like that.
Oh, like the loading phase.
The loading phase. Yeah, and people think that like, oh, I forgot to take my creatine today. I got to go back on my load phase. And it's like, dude,
Nah,
that's just not. You're gonna be fine.
yeah, you don't need to do that, and you honestly don't even need to do the loading phase. The loading phase is really meant to saturate your creatine stores a little bit quicker. So like, rather than it taking 5 to 7 days, which is about what it would take if you were doing the loading phase, if you're just taking a standard dose of around 5 grams per day, it may take about 3 or 4 weeks. But the thing with creatine is it's a long-term supplement anyway. Like, it's something that you should be using long-term anyway.
Absolutely.
So in my head, I don't really think you need the loading phase. If you're going to be taking it for months and months and years anyway, who cares if your creatine stores get fully saturated in next week or next month?
Yeah, it's there.
That's kind of like how I look at it. But it's not bad to load. That's not saying it's bad to load.
Absolutely, because like if it wasn't bad, like it wouldn't be like a thing to implement in like the very beginning. So like there's no like wrong
Right,
There's like no wrong approach to it. So speaking of which, what supplements would you not want to take, or what supplements would you like avoid or tell people like kind of stay away from this?
Yeah, anybody who's been following me for a really long time knows that I think that BCAAs are I don't want to say they're worthless. That's not what I want to say, but they don't do what people think they do. A lot of times people think BCAAs are going to help them with performance in the gym or recovery or muscle growth, and the reality is we have a lot of research that shows that as long as you're eating a sufficient amount of protein, then adding in extra BCAA supplements to your diet isn't going to do anything for you. So you're essentially paying for flavored water when you're buying BCAAs. And hey, listen, if you want to add some flavor to your water, that's totally fine with me, but I think there are some cheaper ways you can do it.
I like my chloride water. I don't know about you, but that's like I like my regular water.
Yeah, what about you?
I think the supplements off rip, all the supplements that I don't recommend will fall under like the marketing gimmick, like umbrella, because there's so many companies or so many brands that will make their stuff look good. They make all these promises, and the reality is it's not true at all. It's just to grab your money. At the end of the day, a lot of these companies, they don't really care about you.
No.
They care about making money. Like, you need to be real. And what's funny is so many people are skeptics, but then when it comes to supplements and it comes to like, fast improvements, like that skepticism just goes out the door, which blows my mind, because everyone's a skeptic to like with everything, but then when it comes to stuff like this, like that entire skepticism, that mindset just goes out the door, which is completely wrong, because a lot of these supplements, it just sounds so too good to be true.
Exactly.
Like fast results, like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So off rip, what I can think about are like detox supplements, like that is so stupid.
We have organs that do that, just so you know.
You don't need a pill to detox yourself. And then the second one are like fat burning like shots, or like fat burning pills or whatever. My thing is like I don't really know the whole science behind it, but like what's going on? Like, where is the fat going? Like, how is the fat even being burned?
Yeah.
Everyone knows true fat loss, calorie deficit, you burn more calories than you consume. And because we were talking about creatine so much, the creatine for women,
Right.
the creatine for women, it's the same creatine me and you take, bro. The only difference is that's got a pink label
It's
in it.
pink,
And
yeah.
they'll charge you more.
Right, it's like
Look,
$5 more. What
It's
the
like,
hell?
like what the heck? It's the same creatine I'm taking. So like any supplement that's like a marketing gimmick, I'll completely stay away.
Yeah.
I'll completely stay away from it.
Yeah, and the thing with supplements that people have to understand is that they aren't well regulated by the FDA. So when it comes to labeling, they could, I don't want to say they could put anything on the label, but they can almost put anything on the label as long as it's not an outlandish claim like this cures heart disease. But obviously they can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
But they can put on the label something along the lines of this supports heart health. Yeah. Even if it's not totally true, and even if there isn't actually a lot of evidence to back it up, they can pretty much play around with their words and put them in certain ways on the label to make things sound really convincing.
Absolutely. That's how I felt with Cheerios.
Yeah.
It like back in the day, man, like
it's not a supplement, but
it's not, right. But like it falls along the line of like putting anything on the label to make it sound good. Like I thought, dude, I used to just dig my hand in a box of regular Cheerios and thinking, dude, my heart is loving me right now. my heart loves this right now.
Just missing Cheerios this whole time. That's what it's been missing.
It's crazy, man, because I used to think that if I ate all these Cheerios, like my heart would just be in the greatest health possible. And like that's just bouncing off of what you're saying, like really putting, it's not like an outlandish claim, but it's something that kind of makes you look at it like, supports heart health, it lowers your cholesterol. Man, I can eat a whole box of this.
Right.
So.
And it's not the Cheerios themselves that do that. It's just what they're doing is they're not necessarily lying. In a way, it could be true, because if you normally eat, let's just say, bacon and ham and a bunch of like super fatty stuff for breakfast, a not so healthy breakfast that isn't nutrient dense, and you swap that out for Cheerios, I mean, it's a better option. I'm not saying Cheerios are bad, but Cheerios themselves aren't causing your heart to be super happy and healthy.
Yeah, right. That's what I used to think when I was a kid. But like, you're going from like bacon and like all that stuff in the morning to Cheerios, like you're definitely reducing the chances of your arteries being clogged to your heart. So
are they lying?
I think they're stretching the truth.
Yeah.
It's not a lie. It's not the truth. So it's like right in the middle. They're like stretching the truth.
Yeah,
but got to give it to you, Cheerios.
They have figured it out.
All right, believe it. So, discipline versus motivation.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Yeah, discipline versus motivation. So motivation, essentially being the desire to want to do something, the desire to achieve a certain goal, and discipline is, did I get that mixed up? I said motivation is the desire.
Yeah.
So motivation is the desire to want to achieve the goal, and then discipline is doing the things that you said you were going to do.
Yep.
When you said you were going to do them. And both of those things can be useful. However, a big mistake that a lot of people make is that they rely entirely on motivation to get things done. And the problem with that is motivation comes and goes, right? It comes and goes in waves. There are going to be days when you're really motivated. There are going to be days where you're not motivated at all. There are going to be times when you're motivated early in the day, and then late in the day, you're not motivated.
Yeah.
And if you're relying entirely on motivation to achieve your goals, well, the reality is you're just not going to achieve your goal, right? What motivation should be is this spark, right? Motivation should be a spark that gets you started and gets you going in terms of creating your plan.
Yeah.
Right. And then discipline is actually doing those things, creating structure, creating a routine, setting some guidelines for yourself, and then doing those things even when you don't feel like doing them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Motivation's more is talking the talk, and the disciplines walking the walk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with motivation, it's like I watched a David Goggins video and it made me want to. I was laying in bed, I watched David Goggins, and now like I want to go to the gym.
Yeah, 10 minutes later, that motivation fades.
It fades on your way there, like
Mhm.
just walking there, just cooked. You're like, shit, man, I might just do 30 minutes today. But discipline is doing something when you don't feel like doing it. So like if I relied totally on motivation throughout this prep, I would not get to the level of conditioning that I'm at right now in March. But it's the discipline. The discipline carries me all along. When we have like a staff lunch at my job and I can't eat any of that stuff, like that's not motivation telling me like, yo, you can't eat that. That's discipline telling me like I got to turn that down.
Yeah.
Motivation is like an emotion that you feel, whereas discipline is the behavior.
Yeah.
You know, like the emotion of motivation isn't telling me like I have to turn this down. It's the behavior of discipline that's telling me like I need to turn down this food. Like it's not in my plan. I can't fit it in. I can't track it. I'm not gonna do it. You know, so relying totally on motivation, it's gonna be really, really hard to get over those humps that motivation can't quite get you over, whereas discipline can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, agreed. And this isn't just related to fitness. Like, think about anything that you want to achieve in your life. If you just relied on motivation, well, a lot of people may not be working, right? You go to work because you know you need to pay your bills, right? And you know you need to have money to be able to afford things.
yeah,
So you rely on discipline to get yourself out of bed, do all the things you need to do in the morning, and go to work and get done what you need to get done at work. If you're just relying on motivation, I mean, think about how many times you wake up and you're like, fuck, I don't feel like going to work today,
yeah,
right? Or like in terms of like taking care of your kids, are you always motivated to do every single thing for your children?
yep,
Probably not. Sometimes you probably just want to go lay the fuck down in bed, right? But you're disciplined, right? Because you care about the well-being of your children, right? So you do the things that you need to do to take care of them.
Yes.
So you need to go into fitness with that same mindset. Even when you aren't motivated, you need to have the discipline to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And do the things that you need to do. And especially, if you are, if you're in your late 20s and 30s, and definitely later, but if you're in your late 20s and early 30s and you take your foot off the gas, bro, that's it.
oh yeah,
That's it. You're going downhill. Think about all the people that we know who are in their mid 20s or early 30s and they talk about how they're out of their prime. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You're 27 years old.
it's so
You're out of your prime. That's because you don't take care of yourself.
That's it. And like you shouldn't be 27 years old feeling like you're 47 years old.
Exactly.
I've actually had this discussion with a couple of my students the other day because they're like, yeah, 20s are prime time. 20s are prime time. I was like, I kind of disagree with that. I think 20s are your building block years. That's you spend your 20s building yourself up. So that way, when you hit 30s are your prime time. That way, when you hit your 30s, like you've already have your stuff built up and established, and then you just take off with the races. Because when you're 20 to 29 years old, like you're still learning life. Like you're exiting that like teenage and like, about like that teenage year, and now you're entering like adulthood.
Yeah.
So like it's brand new territory for you, and you're spending those first few years building yourself, and then that way when you start exiting your 20s, now you already have yourself somewhat established going into your 30s. So I believe 30s are prime time years, not your 20s.
Yeah.
20s are your building years.
Yeah, I definitely believe that your 30s can be your prime time years and potentially even into your 40s. Depending on like the specific characteristics that you're looking at. I mean, I have a client who's in his late 40s who's the strongest. He's the strongest he's ever been in his entire life.
Crazy.
Right? And he's 48. I might be a little bit wrong. But he's, almost 50 years old and the strongest he's ever been. Right? So you don't have to be out of your prime in any aspect in your 20s. Like, I think that's just foolishness. That's just you not taking care of yourself and you taking your foot off the gas early on, or maybe you just never had your foot on the gas and everything just caught up to you so early on, and which, it shouldn't in your 20s. I think a lot of people think that when they get into their late 20s and 30s, things go downhill. It's obviously because they don't take care of themselves, but maybe they also think about, athletes who, are in the NFL or they play sports, and, when they get into their 30s, they're out of their prime, right?
Yeah.
And, well, that's because they've had 45 injuries over the last, 2 decades of their life.
Oh, yeah.
But, whatever your name is, John, Frank, Tim, Joe down the street, you went to school and you worked.
Yeah.
And you never had to deal with a major injury, or if you have, maybe one. You're not playing. You're in the NFL where your head's getting bashed.
Oh,
Constantly. You're not boxing where you're constantly getting punched in the face, right? You are just a regular dude who works at Walgreens or something. You know what I mean? You could still be in your physical prime if you take care of yourself.
And that's it. Like, why wouldn't you want to take care of the vessel that you carry around and function out of all day, every day, right? Like, it's easy to do nothing. That's why everyone does it, And I don't see the joy in wanting to be out of shape and not happy with myself. Like, I just think it's a bad mindset to have, and I really wish a lot of people would open their eyes sooner rather than later and just be like, I need to do something about it, because then it's just going to be way harder for you to get back on track later on. And like we were saying with like the whole like athlete thing, like those people were groomed to be professional football players, professional boxers. These people, like when you see people in the NFL or professional boxers, they've been doing it since they were children.
Yeah.
Children. Like, they were groomed to do this. And then, the amount of practice that they put in, like, they're not doing light practice. They do hard practice. They practice how they play on game day. And so they're taking hits non-stop. And, so, like, with bodybuilding, like, it's no different. Like the amount of practice and the amount of, like sacrifice that they put in to get to that level, like we do the same thing. It's just with food. So like it's really no different. Like the scenarios are completely different, but the principles are the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. So moral of the story, don't rely on motivation. Use motivation to get that spark, to get you going, and then you need to rely on discipline. So create a plan for yourself. It doesn't have to be the perfect plan. Doesn't have to be the best plan in the world, but set some boundaries, have some guidelines, and sometimes you're just gonna need to talk yourself out of doing things, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, last night, I got done work pretty late. I didn't get home until about 8 p.m., and I was sitting on the couch, and I was chilling, and in my head, I was thinking, man, I don't feel like cooking. I think I'd rather just order out. And listen, I'm in the off season now. I can do that if I want, right? I have a lot more flexibility compared to when in my bodybuilding prep.
Yeah.
In my off season, so I could have ordered out. But I ate out a couple of times last week, and I don't want to continue that trend.
Absolutely.
So all I had to do was just sort of just talk to myself for a little bit, right? It was almost like there was a devil on my shoulder, on one shoulder, and an angel on the other. And that angel on my right shoulder just needed a few minutes to like kick that devil off of my shoulder.
Absolutely.
And then I said, fuck it. I stood up and I cooked a meal. And guess what? After I cooked and ate, I was totally fine, and I was glad that I didn't order out, and I saved money. So you need to rely on discipline, not on motivation. Sorry. It's just the way it is. Sorry. Hate to break it to you.
But that's if you want to hit your goals, you want to really achieve your goals, that's the only way.
Yeah.
motivation will only get you so far. It'll probably get you to the halfway point, but that other half, discipline's going to carry you all the way through.
Gotta push yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we can move on to our final topic of the day.
Let's do it.
So, we were asked a question related to training.
Cool.
Related to single joint exercises and multi-joint exercises. So the question is it okay to do a single joint exercise first in your session?
I think yes. There's nothing wrong with it. I feel with that type of approach, general fitness or specific goals, it's not wrong, but using my program, for instance, you have me do bicep in one of my upper days. You have me do bicep curls first, but there's a reason why, because I need my biceps to be more defined. I need my biceps to grow, and having them in the beginning of the workout, I'm gonna have the most energy to be able to put more force and more effort into growing my biceps. And hey, it worked.
Hey, they did grow in this off season, so it worked.
It worked. It definitely did. So depending, it's very goal specific. So for hypertrophy and bodybuilding, doing your isolation lifts first is fine, totally. I would, for general fitness, I would definitely do probably compounds first.
For the most part.
For the most part, compounds and then isolation lifts. The only time I would ever flip it is if doing a compound lift. So let's say a chest press, if one of my clients their triceps are given out first before their chest are, maybe I would do tricep push downs or a tricep extension to fatigue their triceps first, to get them growing first, so that way when they go into their compound lift, their triceps already have more stimulus. So it's not gonna completely take away from their lift and take away from their chest because their triceps are given out.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And generally when you're looking at programming, the multi-joint exercises come first and the single joint exercises come later. So putting single joint exercises early in the session for a lot of people may seem kind of weird, but if you have a specific goal, which again in your case we needed to bring your biceps up a bit, it makes sense to put the bicep work early in the session while you're at your freshest and while you can put in more effort. And I do the same thing for a couple of my sessions. I do hamstring curls first.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas a lot of people on their leg days may do an RDL first, a deadlift first, a squat first.
Yep.
But because my hamstrings are high priority, I do a hamstring curl first and I do squats third in my session.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on the specific situation. General programming, it may not make much of a difference if you put a single joint exercise first, because a lot of people who are into general programming and into general fitness aren't trying to optimize every single variable.
Yeah.
And putting the single joint exercise first, it does make a difference, but it's a very, very, very small difference.
Absolutely.
And for somebody like us who's competitive or just really, really serious and kind of lives that bodybuilding or fitness lifestyle, that extra little bit can show. But for general fitness, it's a little bit different because they're not optimizing every variable outside of the gym.
Yeah.
Or even in the gym. They might just be working out. They might just be dabbling into the gym a couple times a week, maybe 3 times per week. They may sometimes be hitting their protein goal, but a lot of times maybe not. They may be drinking, 5 to 10 drinks every weekend. So they're not optimizing, all the big picture things. They could be doing well, but because they're not optimizing all the big picture things, focusing on something really, really minute, like putting a single joint exercise first in the session, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with saying it would make a noticeable difference. I'm not saying it wouldn't make a difference, but I can't say it would make a big difference for general fitness. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect
sense. But I don't know for sure.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this now from a trainer's perspective.
Yeah.
So, like, if it were just my program, I would approach it a little bit differently. But because, you know, I'm looking at it from a trainer's perspective, last thing I want is my client to get injured.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of look at it from like an injury management perspective. So like one example I could probably think of from the top of my head is maybe doing, just honestly, I could probably take it from my one leg day program. I do leg extensions and then hack squat.
Yeah.
So I do an isolation and then a compound. So what that could do is I could burn out my quads on the isolation lift, and then when I do my compound lift, it's a little I could put on a little less load.
Yeah.
So it's going to be less taxing on my joints.
Yeah.
So therefore the risk of injury is now minimized.
Right.
So from a trainer's perspective, if I want to reduce the risk of injury, I could and which I most likely have all my clients do, is a leg extension and then hack squat or like a Smith machine squat.
Yeah.
Because then it's a little less load, which is going to be a little less stressful on the joints.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah, that's actually a really good way to look at it. So not just in terms of like the muscle growth or strength perspective, looking at it in terms of, you know, like comfort, discomfort, or like injury prevention perspective, you know, especially if you have somebody who does barbell back squats, right? Like maybe they don't want to load up their spine with that much weight, but they want to make sure that they're pushing hard enough.
Yeah.
You do a leg extension first for a few sets, and then you may find that your quads probably aren't going to be able to handle as much weight on a squat, so you won't have to load up as much on your back.
Absolutely.
So that's a really good way to look at it. I like that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, because I could definitely see like jumping right into a compound lift like a squat. Like, yeah, like you'll have the most energy, but you're also gonna kind of increase the risk of injury because you have the most energy, so therefore you believe like you can add a little bit more weight to it, and
internal motivation.
That internal motivation, but the discipline kicking, like, yo, we should do leg extensions first. But that's typically how I approach leg days with the large majority of my clients, because especially when I'm assessing them, last thing I want to do is throw on too much that they can't handle. So obviously, you know, as a trainer, we don't want them to get hurt under our eyes, so we'll take those measures to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yep.
So, and it's those little things that like people, it's often overlooked, but it's because it's kind of like you're really like looking deep into it, but like it's those little things that will matter in long terms and longer periods of time. So that's definitely how I approach the isolation and compound lift thing.
Gotcha. So all in all, it's context dependent.
Yeah,
it really just depends on the specific situation that's going on.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just like with a lot of things,
right?
Like honestly, like we could be like, we can dive into specific details, but all in all, those specific details sum up to, it's all situational,
right? Depends on the specific person.
Just depends on.
There's a lot of people in the world,
and there's a lot, yeah. So, but that's why, like with training, that's why everyone can't follow the same program, because everyone has different body types, different body structures, different goals. So everything's got to be structured differently to those goals, and like to, you know, their body structures and composition. So
totally,
yeah.
Great points. I think that we're coming up on the 1 hour mark.
Dang.
We've been talking for a good bit of time,
man.
So with that being said, I think it's time to close this thing out.
Already?
Yeah, it's already time to close this thing out.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, this is a great 4th episode.
Dude, it's just getting better and better.
I think this is going to be a classic.
This is going to be the Maracy classic. But yeah, dude, these episodes are getting great. You know, we're really highlighting the real conversations part. of our podcast. That's the most important thing. Like, there's no script. You know, we have topics lined up so we can kind of stay on track. But for the most part, like, dude, we're just off doming.
We're just kicking back and relaxing, right?
Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, bro.
I forget the next word.
Shoot some b-ball up on the school.
Yep. So, yeah, if you watched this episode and you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share this with somebody. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family. You know what? Share this with your enemies, right? Because they can use a little bit of help.
They can, yeah, exactly. That's why they're your enemy to begin with, because they can use a little bit of help.
Exactly.
But stay tuned for episode 5. Like, share, subscribe. If there's any topics, anything that you want us to touch upon more, or if there's any other specific topics, please let us know. We would love to hear your feedback.
All right. See you next month.
See you next month.